I've covered riding uphills off-road and the importance of your approach angle, your momentum, the strategies of how to get to the top and how to stay in control. But riding downhill can be absolutely terrifying. In this episode, I'm going to cover the riding techniques and mental processes for riding a large adventure bike off-road downhill. Before I can cover the mental techniques and strategies for riding an adventure bike off-road downhill, let's cover the riding technique. Now there's two major things riders do wrong right out of the gate, so let me tell you what those are. Don't look at the ground in front of your fender and don't put your weight on the bars, no death grip. Here's what we do that's right. I'm going to start by making sure I'm in a weightless position, that I'm not feeling any energy pushing me forward on the bike. I'm going to lean back, I'm going to move back on the bike and wedge my legs into the seat. Most seats come in at an angle, and that allows me to come back and use that seat to hold me into position. When I wedge back into the seat like this, it keeps me from being thrown forward on the bike. What I don't want to do is squat. If you're squatting down, if you move down like this, you'll end up burning up a lot of energy in those muscles in the legs. So wedge back. I can use the foot pegs on the bottom. My foot wedges against the back of the peg. I wedge into the seat. This is a very relaxed position. I'm now behind the handlebars and I'm not being thrown over the bike. My left foot is going to be above and behind the shifter. I'm normally in second gear on a slow technical downhill, and if I want compression braking, or more importantly, if I need thrust, if I need to launch over a rock or over a ditch, I don't want to find myself accidentally bumping into neutral. On the right side, I'm going to have my foot in tight to the bike, and it's going to be hovering over the highest step on the brake lever. And that allows me to still be in this back position and to apply rear brake. If I only have a low step, or if I'm not in the right place with my foot, I have to move forward to get down to use that brake. And that moves me forward on the bike and does not give me the best balance or the best weightless position on the machine. Now that I'm behind the bars, on the left side, I'm using two fingers. I pull my clutch in. On a downhill, I'm almost always clutch in. I don't compression brake going down hills because it's not as predictable. It can skip and bounce. It's just not as good. All right, so I'm gonna be clutch in. That way, if I need power, again, to launch over a rock or over a rut, I can give power and slip that clutch out and it's ready to go. On the right side, I'm gonna have 1 to 2 fingers resting on my brake lever. I'm gonna apply just enough pressure that the brake pads are rubbing against the rotor, but not necessarily slowing the bike. That means that if I need just a little bit of brake for going downhill, I can just put the lightest pressure and I start getting just enough slowing. If my fingers hover above or if they're wrapped around and I go for the brake, it's much more likely that you'll grab or apply too much pressure. You can lock the front end or tuck it. If you have ABS or a bike with street ABS, it can engage the ABS and you start free rolling down the hill. Neither one is what I recommend. So those are the techniques. Knees are in, I'm wedged back against the seat. My left foot is behind the shifter, right foot is above the rear brake. I'm behind the handlebars so the front end can track naturally. And I have 2 fingers with the clutch pulled in and 2 fingers resting on the brake lever. Head and eyes are up. Now let's talk about strategy. Often the biggest challenge for going down any hill off-road is mental. It's our mind, it's the way we think, it's the way we look at things, it's fear. And when we end up fearful going down a hill, or if we're not committed to the hill before we begin, we end up doing things that get us in trouble. We grab the brakes, we tuck the front end, we don't accelerate to go over things when we need to. We just get very nervous and we have very poor technique. We tense and grab up. Begin with a good strategy. The steeper the hill, the slower the approach, all the way to a near stop. If needed, get off the bike, walk the hill. It's more important to know where you're going to end up at the bottom, your landing area, than it is even the middle of the hill. So once you crest that hill, traction's gonna start changing, but gravity's in your favor. You're going to the bottom of the hill, one way or the other. What you wanna do is make sure that your eyes are looking far enough down and knowing exactly where I land so that I know I have good traction, I can stop, I can change direction, that I have control. If I don't have control in the middle of the hill, that's okay as long as I have a good landing. And I have to keep my mind all the way at the bottom. The farther I look, the more relaxed I am, the less fear I have. It's very seldom that it's our physical ability or even our techniques that are really limiting us. It's fear that limits us, and it's fear that we need to control. The easiest way to control fear is keep your eyes as far down the trail as possible. And make sure you keep a nice light grip to the handlebars so you have fine motor control of both the clutch and the front brake. And don't forget to smile. You're having fun.